Traditional models describe a black hole as a site of ultimate collapse. They tell us infinite density destroys information behind an event horizon, creating a point where the laws of physics simply stop working. Actual data from the Event Horizon Telescope reveals a different story. In M87 star, we observe a highly structured photon ring. It is a persistent, precisely bounded emission structure that maintains organization despite being at the edge of the void. Extending from this same core is a relativistic jet. This massive, organized outflow stays collimated over tens of thousands of light years, a feat of engineering that current models struggle to explain through passive accretion or systemic breakdown. This creates a structural contradiction. If these cores are boundaries that destroy everything they touch, how do they anchor such precise, persistent electromagnetic geometry? These features, the ring, the shadow, and the jets, point to a coherent electromagnetic field maintaining its own structure under extreme constraint. To map this behavior, we use a 3x3 phase cell lattice. By following a backwards S-path through these 9 rolls, we can track the complete recursive breadth of the field as it organizes itself. The cycle opens at cell 39, the centrifugal spark. This is the radial ignition point, the initial outward vector of energy that forms the base of the jet. The drive continues into cell 69, the exploratory scaffold. Here, the field begins to build architecture, organizing surrounding plasma into the coherent circulating paths of an accretion flow. This expansion reaches its limit at cell 99, the diffusive crust. The outward drive stabilizes into a persistent orbital boundary, the visible photon ring we capture in our telescope arrays. The accretion disk and photon ring represent the natural first phase of the field's outward expression. From there, the field pivots into cell 96, the torque hinge. This is the lensing transition, the zone where extreme curvature begins redirecting light around the core as the field shifts its focus inward. This pivot leads to the absolute center, cell 66, the coherence anchor. In the grammar of the lattice, this is the omnipresent midpoint, where outward expansion and inward containment reach a state of perfect mutual balance. At this address, these opposing pressures reach a state of total equilibrium and cancel out any net discharge. This creates what engineers call an impedance match. Because there is no leftover turbulence to radiate, the system emits no visible light, leaving a central dark stillness. The traversal completes its inward turn at cell 36, the focused indraw. Using electromagnetic induction, the field systematically redistributes its energy back toward the center of the toroidal structure. The central shadow of a black hole represents the system's most active, coherent organizational anchor. The field now enters its deepest containment at cell 33, deep compression. This is the standing wave phase, where magnetic architecture reaches its tightest configuration. This leads to cell 63, gestation saturation. The system pauses here, integrating the total history and tension gathered across the entire traversal into a single saturated state. The cycle reaches its climax at cell 93, the respark. The compressed coherence discharges violently along the axis, firing energy out to reinitiate the entire process for the next cycle. This cycle explains why M87 star produces such a massive collimated jet. It operates above the coherence threshold, successfully completing a stable 9-cell traversal. Sagittarius A star, however, operates right at that threshold. It oscillates through these phases rapidly, without achieving a stable, full traversal, which results in flickering emission and the lack of a sustained jet. These two cores represent the same electromagnetic grammar operating at different stability addresses. Pulling back to see the whole circuit, we find a 3-dimensional toroidal geometry. Energy flows through a continuous circuit, trading dominance between electric expansion and magnetic containment. In this light, the black hole we observe is an optical artifact. It is the shadow cast by a higher dimensional magnetic tension line intersecting our 3-dimensional frame of reference. This resolves the information paradox. Data is not destroyed at a boundary. It is continuously inverted and re-encoded through this recursive structural cycle. This relationship between formative pressure and containment operates everywhere structure persists. We see it in the voltage dates of our own cells, at the ionospheric boundaries of our planet and along the vast length of cosmic filaments. Galactic centers serve as the fundamental engines of persistence, the universe taking a continuous breath to build and sustain structure across all scales.
Chapter 2. Now we widen the frame.
We have long modeled the cosmos as a mechanical collection of isolated objects. In this framework, stars burn out, black holes swallow matter, and energy is eventually lost to the void. We apply this same logic of isolation to ourselves, assuming our internal thoughts and consciousness are disconnected from the physical mechanics of the stars. This Event Horizon Telescope visualization challenges that isolation. Ordered polarization and brightness asymmetry around the shadow track, magnetic field dominance, not matter falling inward. At the core, data lacks a thermalized information loss signature. The traditional consuming object model fails to account for these observations. These observations point toward a different model, one where objects are actually intersections of a continuous geometry. To understand how these systems persist, we have to look at the behavior of the toroidal field, a moment of wonder. This structure represents the galactic toroid, an unbroken energy circuit that shifts our perspective away from isolated stars. Our sun occupies one pole of this field. In this region, magnetic containment is the dominant force, acting as a primary constraint. This inward pulling coherence holds solar plasma in a stable form. The light and radiation we see are secondary effects, the result of formation occurring where containment is the priority. This circuit's electric component continues past the sun. It precesses outward, following the outer arc of the galactic toroid. As the curvature of the field tightens, the electric flow accelerates and its frequency increases. Throughout this transit, the flow accumulates perturbation. Formative pressure builds as the energy moves toward the opposite pole of the circuit. At the opposite pole, electric diffusion becomes dominant. Formative pressure reaches a limit where the field can no longer maintain its orientation, causing the system to invert. Like a pencil passing through paper, appearing as a 2D boundary, a black hole is simply the intersection of a higher dimensional magnetic tension line with our 3D frame. Stellar systems orbit this line, while electric flow continues outward. When formative pressure finally exceeds the containing capacity, the system triggers magnetic reconnection. The tension line suddenly snaps and rethreads. Electricity mounts the central axis and is released at a higher frequency. These resulting jets and quasars represent a release of compressed coherence, encoded with the total history of the circuit they traversed. No energy is destroyed or consumed. Instead, the system re-encodes itself through a continuous cycle of containment, perturbation, inversion, and release. This same grammar appears wherever dissipative structures operate, systems that must manage energy and pressure to maintain their form. In human terms, our interiority acts as a formative force. It generates the distinctions and ideas that create internal pressure. Our exteriority provides the containment. It is the capacity to integrate and stabilize what our internal formation has generated. When the pressure of these internal distinctions exceed our ability to contain them, the psychological coherence of the system is challenged. This topological graph shows a structural bifurcation. The path of a star collapsing or reconnecting maps to the same geometric patterns seen in psychological regression or transpersonal emergence. In both cases, the system either collapses to a lower capacity or reorganizes to a higher one. This suggests that cosmology and the mind's own development are the same field seen at different depths of recursion. Awareness reorganizes whenever containment must grow to hold what formation has made inevitable. The recursion holds.